Okay, so hello everybody. It's been about a month since I have released the last firmware for this board, and honestly I thought I'd just take a moment to kind of share what my experience has been. I've probably covered about 100 kilometers on the board since then. So this update would be after the last one I posted where I was chasing a friend around the Waterford Trail. Nothing physically has actually changed with the board. I've been very happy with the build. The very simple design is effective, it's strong, and I've had no problems with that. I have slightly changed the menu system a little bit, and that is available in the description. So you'll see there's a website link available there with all the description on the recent firmware update and all that. I will be doing another very small firmware update in the near future, just basically to the menu option that allows you to set one-way or two-way. Just because I'm running out of menu options, I'm going to make a third and fourth option, which basically just activates the board's beeper to let you know that you have basically reached 50 or 60%. I got to figure out from there. The only reason I say that is I had a small spill about 2 days ago. Wasn't bad. I tucked and things went well. But yeah, I maxed out the speed of the board, and unfortunately it had no more forward momentum to be able to keep me up. And then when I hauled back on the brake, I'd set the ESC braking too high on the battery, so it was regenning. And because this is there's no reduction of any kind with this motor, it's just a large single motor, the actual braking power for regen sucks. So I had to lower that back down to about 10 amps, but I'll explain more of that in another video on how to actually set up the VESC with this board. But other than that, I'll just kind of give you another quick run through. So this is the board, and I'm sitting on the ground because I don't have good table space for this. Wear and tear has actually been pretty good. The 3D printed ends for the bars have stood up quite well. This is TPU, so it actually is quite strong. Other than that, I am using the 48 version 800 watt version of this motor. And it's actually performed quite well. The only issue I find is after about a week or so of riding, the air pressure does drop a little bit in the tire. Not a big deal. Just have to check to make sure that is around 20 PSI to get it to be effective. I put the cover on for the Arduino Nano, the MPU 6050, which is the gyro and accelerometer, and I left everything else pretty much uncovered, just waterproofed. Honestly, I haven't had an issue, and when I have been out on wet days, no moisture really gets in this area. So a little bit gets back here. I'm still just running tape over the BMS, battery management system, and these plugs and this switch has worked out pretty good. So the board is stood up. These wires I was planning on kind of tucking those away better, but they haven't been really an issue. The camera that I ride with is just one of these old Runcam 2s. I'm powering it just off of the VSC because the battery in it isn't as great anymore, so usually it's only good for like 20 minutes. So being powered off the VSC lets me run full-time recording, and that placement of the camera actually hasn't been that bad. I haven't hit anything with it or grounded along the ground, so it's held up pretty good. Let's turn on the light. So you can still get at, there it is. So you can still get the USB port in there for programming, but I haven't really had to do any programming that way. So there hasn't been any firmware updates since the last one that's on the website right now, so it's actually worked out pretty good. Programming through the board has been good, so we'll guess I'll fire that up. There we go. So it's doing the calibration, and I'm at 48.5.6 volts. So this is a 12S battery, 18650 Li-ion. So those are the Samsung. So I just went to the grocery store and back on the board. I actually grabbed myself a hot meal from the counter and some pizza pockets. It's good living. So that's not bad. So I would say that was probably about a 5-kilometer trip. and I'm still at 48 volts resting. So getting back in and out of the menu is still the same way. If you're not on the bottom button, hold the top one. And it should be for about 5 seconds. And it goes into the programming mode. Then you can just press it quickly to go through the, what is now 10 menus, or 9 menus, sorry. Second one being allowing you to calibrate center. So what you'll notice here is that I'm running it at 4.8 degrees back. So what I like to do to give me better, to keep the front end up more, is when I calibrate the center, or the level, I calibrate it with the back down about 5 degrees. And I find that most of the time when I'm riding, I'll only be at maybe -1, -2 degrees on the front, which allows me to get on and off sidewalks pretty easily. And that works out pretty good for me. I have activated the beeper now. So beeps when it tells you that it's currently just saved some settings. It'll also beep if you go beyond 85% of the board. Now, I want to bring that down, though, and be a bit more conservative. Like I said, I fell, didn't hurt myself. I took a little bit of skin. That was 2 days ago, so it's healing up pretty good, and a little bit on my shoulder, but it wasn't that bad. But I was probably doing about, probably close to 40 kilometers an hour when I crashed, so that hurt a little, a few bruises. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I was planning on building a version 2, but I've been really happy with the board the way it is. Now, I do have basically about a 10-11 kilometer max range, so I say 10 kilometers because this way I'm not worried about harming the battery. If you do go more than 10 kilometers, you do bring the battery pretty low. And do risk damaging it. So I basically class this as a real life 10 kilometer range. So not like they say, 15, 16 kilometer range, and then you find out that you only get like 8 or 9. With me on the board, I'm about 170 pounds. So it gets me uphill, downhill, and my town is all hills. So no matter where you're going, it's uphill, downhill. And the board does very well on it. So, being that I think that this design is pretty much about as good as it really should be, I think my next build is going to be one of those OEVs or whatever. Basically, the one where you ride forward on it's got a larger tire in it, and kind of more like a motorcycle tire or a large bicycle tire with a motor on it. I think I'll do one of those next, just because, I mean, excuse me, my next build on this would probably be, I might be able to add maybe a 12S 3P, or maybe go to a 13 or 14S. It'd be rated a little bit more than the motor should have. And if you're going to cruise around on something like this, I don't want to make anything that might fail. And if I was to add a 3P battery, well, that's another 12 lithium cells. So now you're starting to get pretty heavy. So honestly, I think for a good, clean, easy build, this is about the best it's going to get. And I'll do, like I said, an OEV as my next build. So I do have some video running in the corner that just kind of shows kind of my around town. I take this thing to the post office, to go hang out with friends. I take it grocery shopping. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Anybody out there that is building, I will be putting up more information on the site so that I will make it fully available. And I do love this board. We're going into winter now, so yeah, I'm going to lose out on a lot of ride time, but at least I'll have it for spring. Just remember, anybody that is storing something with a lithium-ion battery in it, to kind of put the board into storage mode, so basically run the battery down to about 50%. And store it somewhere cool, not cold. You don't want it to go below 0 or anything like that, but a nice cool location will preserve your battery for the winter. So that's pretty much it. I might post up a few more ride videos or something like that, but I think that's pretty much it for this build. Anybody else out there, like I said, there's going to be a small firmware update, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. The board is plenty quick. I don't really find the desire to kind of max out the board. One, that hurt. And two, I mean, this thing gets me around pretty well. So, I mean, it's a nice, comfortable cruise. You get on it, there's no effort. The large 10-inch tire is great with our really poor sidewalks and streets around here. So I would really hate to actually have an actual skateboard for getting around town. It's pretty rough. The roads are, well, very much like chip. Basically, just small pebbles ran into tar. So it's not the greatest thing for riding around on, but this board does it just fine. So everybody have fun out there with your boards if you build them. This thing's been great. Have a good one. Safe riding.